That means I will be solo casting, in which case, so no worries for that, we still got video.
I'll restart my client and everything, make sure nothing goes wrong. It always seems to be just the first game of the day, doesn't it?
It does. Why doesn't it like you, Penguin? What did you do? Did you not make the sacrificial kappa to Twitch and the Battle.net gods to make sure that you get into the game or something?
Apparently not. I need to go do that right now.
Okay, you get on with that, and I'll introduce these two players. So, spawning down in the bottom right-hand position as the blue Protoss player. Now representing XMG, it's Lilbow. And his opponent to the north, the red Zerg player representing Team Dignitas, who in the loading we did touch on has recently re-signed with them. It is Tefel. Polar Night is going to be the map for game number 1, and let's talk a little bit about this map and where it can be beneficial for the two players and how it can start mixing out. Well, the big thing is this dead space. There is so much of it that it can be very easy to utilize. Things like Mutalisks can get in there nice and quick. There's also quite a lot of area for Stalkers to potentially start blinking up into the main, although not such a common strategy as we may have seen previously or in other matchups. Otherwise, around the map, we've not got too many things to really note, except maybe the natural base. It's quite wide and open, but it's very close in here too, so you can get a wall off down. It's not too big. There's no ramp or anything like that to hide vision, which can make it a little bit more problems, but, well, everything is just going fairly normal for the time being. One thing that it is worth noting is that actually Tefel has quite a cool style of playing Zerg. One of the main things that he looks to do is get out a few more Zerglings early on than many other Zerg players choose. That makes his drone count slightly lower, but makes him a lot more safe. He can start pressuring, make sure any pushes that were moving out get shut down, and it's all really nice times for him. Whereas Lilbow, obviously someone new up into WCS, maybe Tefel doesn't know so much about him. I did mention as we were in the lobby waiting that these two have played before, at least once that I know of, and that was in a Zotac Cup a couple of weeks ago. And there, Tefel advanced 2-1 over Lilbow. So that was the best of 3. In terms of their current form and things like that, well, actually, Tefel winning out there slightly. He's got a 64% win rate currently up against Protoss, which is very good. Whereas Lilbow still doing solid against Zerg. He's got about 57% win rate. So both of these two talented in the matchup. Both of these two probably feeling quite confident going into this. The odds slightly favour Tefel overall, but not by enough that means that it's going to be a landslide. I'm really expecting this to go for maybe even 5 games of this series, unless, of course, one of these players has got something tucked up their sleeve to make things go a bit more awesome. So, for the moment, in terms of openings, I haven't really touched much on that because it's relatively standard. From Tefel, it was just a nice early gas. He's going to get speed. I'm just keeping an eye to see whether he's going to keep those drones in gas after he's started up Zergling speed. Meanwhile, Lilbow, it looks to be a gateway expand, except that Nexus very late. Instead, he's got a Stalker out early in the Mothership core moving across the map. Nothing proxied as far as I can see. Tefel does have an Overlord in a position that you quite often see a proxy Stargate, so got to keep a nice little peek on what could be coming down here. There's the Nexus though, so this pressure is just going to be poking and prodding. Tefel taking some damage early on. The Mothership core needs to be cautious. 2 Queens under there can definitely take it down, and that is not a loss that Lilbow would want. He backs it away, allowing the Stalker to get some more damage done. This is just being frustrating to Tefel. He's got 8 Lings in production, 2 just popped out now, 2 already on the field. So he should have no issue fending this pressure off. One Stalker getting dangerously low on health there. You don't really want that to go down, but if a Queen is able to get picked off, that'd be great news for Lilbow, who's poking and prodding and generally just trying to be a little bit of a nuisance. The Mothership core getting very low, needs to be exceptionally careful. Lilbow, with a bit of a misclick, walks back into those Queens and takes a large amount of damage. With the Mothership core going down, that really shuts down the push. The Stalker will need to retreat, and it's exceptionally low itself on HP. Just 1 health remaining, those shields regenerating though. Needs to back away. Is the sentry going to be a help or a hindrance? Lets it back through. Needs to get a force field down. Good control now by Lilbow. In terms of resources lost, that pressure didn't really work out that well for Lilbow. Tefel back to droning. These are the characteristic Zerglings that you often see. Even if this pressure hadn't have come down, I would expect to see this small group of speedlings out of Tefel. It gives him vision, it gives him the ability to pressure, and it also means that he's feeling very safe in order to take down this third. So, Tefel is really where he'd want to be. We do see the Rotoron is down. Meanwhile, a Stargate is going to be following up this build for Lilbow. Stargate's good on this map because of the dead space that lays around. While it's unlikely we'll be seeing any kind of massive Stargate play, something like an Oracle coming out early can be really effective. There's lots of areas in the main you can sneak in, the natural base as well. While there is ground round here, can easily get into the mineral line. And the third too is exposed via air. So this Oracle potentially gonna catch Tefel slightly off guard. It's later than the normal Stargate openings that many Zergs would expect to see. And there's also this ground support, so most of Tefel's attention likely to be drawn to the third, which is about to get pressured, while the Oracle could be going up into the main. Multi-pronged attacks generally are very, very effective if a player isn't prepared for them. And well, now we're going to see the attempt of Lilbow to make that work. The Mothership Core has been remade. The Queen gets sniped down very quickly. That keeps the Oracle safe. It's with the main army, but without any anti-air in the form of Queens, this Oracle can go to town on some drones should it want to. A quick mass recall pulls all of Lilbow's army back, which minimizes the risk he's exposing himself to with this pressure. Unfortunately though, the Oracle is yet to actually kill anything, so is currently just a bit of wasted resources. It's an investment that hasn't paid off yet. Now, all in all, with just one Voidway coming out, this pressure still isn't huge, and Oracle does beat a Queen one-on-one and now goes for some of these drones, finally starting to pay off. But Tefel, a good number of roaches moving across the map, posturing to come and put on a little bit of pain. If a few more Voidways get out, they'll shred through the roaches with prismatic alignment, and that is ideally what Lilbow wants to do. Tefel, perhaps assuming that there's going to be more here, pulls back, and Lilbow adding in yet more Stargates. This is pretty much Sky Toss now. He's getting 3 Stargates worth of Voidway production. Going to be very heavy, effective up against these roaches. Only thing he's lacking then is some splash. So at some point I'd expect to see either some High Templar or Colossi come through. If he does that, then obviously he's in a very solid spot. Unless, of course, he's going to be doing something absolutely insane and just go like mass Sky Toss and try and end out the game quickly. This Oracle went back in again, did manage to get a couple of kills, but was forced away by the Queen. And all in all, an Oracle with 9 kills isn't too bad, as we can see. 8 workers there, so a decent amount of damage. The worker count for Tefel, much lower than you'd generally expect to see of a Zerg player at near the 11-minute mark. Normally, a Zerg would be pretty much maxed out on drones now, kind of 70+ mark. But Tefel, having to deal with this pressure, having to get out a lot of units, hasn't been able to really do much in terms of getting a good economy or tech up. His Hydra Den has only just finished. But the one thing that is going very nicely for Lilbow is his resources lost. Well, that first bit of pressure with 2 Stalkers and also a Mothership Core didn't really do too much and actually came off worse. Since then, he's forced his opponent to lose about double what he has, and that's always going to be nice. So, third Nexus has just completed for Lilbow. He's getting a couple of additional gateways there. His army is not that large, so Tefel, while he isn't aware of this third, is heading down there now. Once he sees it, it's a tough area to hold due to a large amount of space being available. Force fields may not be that effective, but if Tefel is able to come from the top and also from the bottom right here by moving up through the natural base, he could attempt to get a bit more of a flank on Lilbow's army. And while it is very small in number, it would be a very dangerous position for our XMG Protoss player. Tefel though, biding his time, waiting to go for the right engagement, and I think that is a very smart play from Tefel, because if he rushes in here, he could end up in a bad spot. Nice time warps and good force fields will trap a couple of units, not a huge amount, but any pick off for energy I generally consider quite a good trade. Lilbow is down in supply, so by delaying this push as well, it gives him more of an opportunity to produce a few additional Voidways, and getting 3 at a time isn't just a few, that's actually quite a lot. It substantially enhances how strong his army is. So Tefel moving up now towards the natural, realizing Lilbow down there. This naturally gives Tefel a great concave, and he starts to engage. Lilbow needs to be very careful. The force fields have to start zoning out more of this army. The Voidways on the top, destroying the Hydralisks as quickly as possible. Prismatic alignment doesn't deal bonus damage to them though, as Hydras are not armored. The Roaches on the ground not engaging yet, but once the Hydras are gone, there's no more anti-air, and that leaves the Roaches for Lilbow's Voidways just to start soaking through. And this is really what we're seeing now. The roach count getting lower. The third base, though, approaching some difficulties. And with that, if it goes down, obviously this game starts looking a lot more happy. If Lilbow is able to keep this third base up, well, actually, that's when he's going to be feeling very positive about his position in this game. The Void Rays, though, having to focus down some Hydralisks first, leave the Nexus to fall, and with that, Tefel gets himself a base up. So while Tefel's economy isn't flourishing as of yet, he has been able to knock down Lilbow's. This push is getting shut down nicely by this many Void Rays, but Lilbow back on 2 bases. However, if we look at the resources lost, Tefel losing just shy of, well, about 4,000 more resources actually than Tefel has. And due to that, due to the fact that the Void Ray count's still up at 10, this is a very powerful army that we currently see out of Lilbow. Lilbow's gas expenditure in this army is a lot higher than that of Tefel's, and so with that generally the units can be a bit stronger. Loads of Void Rays out are difficult to deal with because the Hydras melt pretty quickly and then any roaches will get destroyed, so it is something that Tefel needs to be cautious of. Tefel, though, is still just producing units. He doesn't feel a need to go above this 58 drone mark that he's currently at. And that's quite interesting, because he's not saturated at his third base as of yet. His main is very low after that Oracle moved in. I don't believe the drones have ever been replaced there, so only 9 workers on minerals, which are limiting his income. It is still higher than that of Lilbow's, but Lilbow, once he gets that third up, should be able to pull ahead once again. So, Tefel, once again, attempting to find an avenue that he can start moving through to try and get in a good position. But this fleet of Void Rays does look very intimidating. Any position like this where Lilbow is able to engage is great. He's utilizing the map to block out most of the Hydralisks from being able to fight his Void Rays by clumping them up. That minimizes the DPS output of the Hydras while maximizing the DPS output of the Void Rays. If you can keep taking trades like that without losing Void Rays in the process, it's obviously pretty good. But the Hydra count now getting pretty high. Note that Tefel is only producing Hydras. It's a smart move because he hasn't seen any splash as of yet. Does need to be a little bit cautious though, because the Zealots, when they close up the distance, deal some good damage and also tank a lot, allowing Lilbow now to just tear through this army. The Hydras in retreat, and suddenly Tefel's supply is 30 down on that of his Protoss opponent. And this is Lilbow now pushing in, trying to do so much damage. And well, Tefel, GG's out straight there, knowing he's not going to be able to hold it. And game
1 saw our Protoss player, who I think is considered a bit of an underdog, take the first game, put himself in a good position. This is a best of 5 though, not a best of 3, so he's not quite on match point just yet. His opponent has a couple of games to turn it around. Why don't you go ahead and introduce our 2 gladiators onto the field.
Well, spawning down in the bottom right-hand position of Heavy Rain, it is the blue Protoss player, newly on XMG, Lilbow. And his opponent, to the top left, the red Zerg, from Team Dignitas, Tefel.
Alright. Tefel, going for an extractor trick there, nothing too super strange or anything like that. And the last game we saw Lilbow play, not like super duper standard or anything like that, but he didn't try to cheese or anything, which is a little bit of a surprise to me. I was expecting him to try to get an early lead over Tefel through some shenaniganry, because Tefel is a very, very predictable player. He goes for a very, very similar build almost every single game, and you can exploit that. For instance, Stardust likes to go for 7 gates against it because the 7 gate works pretty well against the build that Tefel prefers to do. But we saw Lilbow play a very macro-centric game, and it worked out for him.
Yeah, it's a good position to get it if you're Lilbow. Being 1 game up in a best of 5 is not monumental. In a best of 3, I'd say this is an amazing position for Lilbow. But he's still got, if he wins this game, I'd say that's when he can start being a bit more comfortable, actually. So, what do you reckon on Heavy Rain we could expect to see from these two from what we saw in game number 1, Penguin?
Well, Tefel is the kind of guy who will go Roach Hydra all day, every day, any day of the year, and I would expect him to do that. He doesn't do it every single game ever. Like, he can change it up every now and then, but it's what he's known for, and it's what he does by far the most often. So I think that is what we're going to be. That's a safe prediction anyway. For this map, though, this isn't a great map for that, because there's a lot of chokes, there's a lot of long ways around. It doesn't take a super short time to get to your opponent's base. It takes a while to actually make your way across the map, which is not great for Hydras, which even with the speed upgrade are not the fastest of units. And also with all the chokes, Colossi will do incredibly well against Hydralisk Roach forces, and same as Trooper Storm. So, yeah, we'll have to see just what Tefel decides to do. Maybe this is one of the maps where he does want to change it up, just because of the way the map's architecture will not really favor his preferred composition.
Of course, Lilbow as well had a really nice composition in the first game, and one small adjustment that Lilbow's made is he hasn't gone out for that earlier pressure as of yet that we saw, but he does still have a Stalker getting corner boosted out and the Mothership core there, so maybe coming in with that shortly. I'm not sure how I feel about this, Penguin, because let's face it, game number 1, Lilbow's early pressure with those 2 Stalkers and 1 Mothership core actually worked out worse for him.
Yeah, Tefel's not the kind of guy who'll hatch first. He goes pool first religiously, even against Terran, which is a matchup where hatch first has just been the thing for like 3 years. He still goes pool first in that. He likes to be safe, he doesn't want to die to early pressure. And Lilbow, his Nexus is coming down 35 seconds later than it would in a standard build, even without the Zealot cancel. So it's about a minute later than it could have been had he gone for a very standard Zealot cancel expand build. And he's going to have to do a little bit of damage here, but it's going to be very, very tough because Tefel did go pool first. He's already got speed on the way even, which means he could catch some units. And, well, we have a sentry on the way now, so no Stalker actually did come out. Did he cancel that?
He must have done. It was nearly done, and it was getting chrono boosted out as well, so that's a very strange cancel to make.
That is. No units lost, so it's not like it got picked off by invisible Zerglings or anything.
Very peculiar. Anyway.
Go ahead.
All I was going to say was Tefel actually pulled out drones from gas after starting speed, but has now put 2 back in. So he's also mixing up his build, having seen the fact that those Stalkers weren't coming over. Potentially, he was expecting them to be there.
Yeah, well, Lilbow, he is going for a 3 gateway Stargate opening, which does mean that he can go into Void Ray production to grab an early third base again. Or he could be going for some kind of Zealot-centric Oracle supported pressure, which is something that's not all too rare, especially with a third base coming up for Tefel here. But Lilbow's last plan was completed in the last game. It worked well, so why not just keep very, very similar? Meanwhile, Tefel is making a lot of lings.
Yeah, this is quite stylistic of Tefel, though. It's something I mentioned in game number 1. Tefel, around this point, actually, are kind of 34 workers when he's just about saturated on 2 base minus the additional gases. He gets out a good number of lings. He puts on pressure, and while that may not be able to do any damage, it just means that should there have been a gateway unit move out right now, which is a very common time for the first proxy pylon to be trying to come down, he can shut that out easily. As we see, a couple of sentries are moving forward, but Tefel's Zerglings here now are helping to just keep this back.
Lilbow is going Oracle, so he is going to be going for some pressure with the Oracle and 3 gateways of production. This is nowhere near like an all-in or anything like that. He's going to continue making probes, may even take
oh, nice look around on a lot of Zerglings there with some forces. That shuts them down. Sorry to interrupt you there. By the way, Penguin as well, your mic is a little bit low, so if you could turn that up, that would be great. But yeah,
maxed on my end.
We've now got obviously this small move out now from Lilbow. It's not many units. With the Oracle, again, it's a little bit of poking and prodding. Extra queens here, though, should be able to shut down the Oracle pretty easily. And, well, the Oracle gets forced back, but now in come the sentries, in come the Zealots and the Mothership Core. The Mothership Core nearly at max energy, so it does have a Time Warp and a Mass Recall available. The Zealots able to take out a couple of roaches with some good force fields, and now we see the Queen also starting to go down.
One of those queens does go down, as you said, right at the front there. Still no energy expended on that Mothership Core, and he is just going to recall on out. Not a terrible trade at all, as we really didn't see any units except for 1 Zealot lost. So Lilbow trading a little bit of energy on the Mothership Core and on those sentries for a couple of units, so this will trade there for him. He's already killed off over 1,000 resources, a lot of that coming from those really nice force fields around those Zerglings, and he still has this Oracle chilling around. He has a couple of worker kills on that already, and he is going to pop on into the third again, grabbing 2, 3 more, and this is starting to deal just a little bit of damage here. He's up to 6 worker kills, and he's still alive.
I believe it was 8 in the previous game that Tefel was able to get up to. The Oracle unfortunately does die, but 7 worker kills is still pretty substantial, especially against someone like Tefel, who generally has a slightly lower drone count than other Zerg players we're quite used to seeing. So this is hurting Tefel's economy. I also love the fact Lilbow is completely switching up his playstyle. He's going to go and take the third. While he does still have some Void Ray production, there's not the additional 2 Stargates that we saw in the previous game. Instead, an Immortal's coming out, and then after this Observer, we'll start seeing some Colossus production due to the Erotic Bay being down. But just as in game number 1, Lilbow is at his most vulnerable here. Very little on the ground and trying to take a third.
Yeah, well, the third base is coming down, and the nice part about Heavy Rain is that he's able to knock down those destructible rocks, and that means that he has this 2,000 health wall between Tefel and him. So even if Tefel does go for a push out either, he's going to have to walk the very, very, very long way around, or he's going to have to go through one of 3 potential rock walls, which is going to hold him up just a little bit longer. So Lilbow is going to have just a little bit of extra time to get his units on up, and with the first Colossus on the way out, I think he's going to be in a pretty comfortable position. We do have another Miracle popping on in, trying to focus on some of these drones. Yes, 3 of them already, and he'll take out only 4 kills. Not the greatest, but not a horrendous trade either.
Well, this is still annoying for Tefel. He's only at 62 workers, which is at least 10 less than you generally expect to see at this sort of game time of Berserk. Meanwhile, Lilbow, his third is now complete. He's at 60 probes. The transfer should come down fairly soon, but Tefel moving across the map. This is quite a substantial army. Extended thermal lance will not be done if Tefel comes straight for this push, but it's also worth noting that there's only a single Colossus down. The next one only just begun. Tefel also taking out these rocks to speed up his rush distance over to his opponent's base just to try and get some more damage down. But smart move by Lilbow, knocks over the rocket tower, buying himself a few more vital seconds.
Lilbow also does have this wall up here on the west side of his third, which is going to be just another thing that buys him just a little bit more time as Tefel tries to knock that down if he goes to the flank on the left side. Meanwhile, Tefel's already getting very, very close to maxed out with a huge number of Hydras, up to already 26 with 8 more in production. A lot of Zealots being warped on in here, but there's no charge. Twilight Council's not even done yet. And as you said, Thermal Lance not quite finished, but with Tefel going around to knock down the other rock tower, looks like he's just planning on trying to open as many paths as possible right now, which may be just enough to buy Lilbow the time he needs for that Thermal Lance to come out on the Colossi. He is going to be a huge, huge, huge factor in the upcoming battle.
Well, 2 Colossi are down on the field. That's a bit of splash damage. 3 Voidways there too. The concern is going to be just how many Hydralisks are currently down. There's a good number of Roaches ready to defend them, but Lilbow zoning out some of Tefel's flank, using 3 force fields to the right. Nice control there. But Tefel, he's pushing it over the top. Those force fields going to be going down pretty soon. More being needed. And as Tefel puts it closer, Lilbow is forced to engage. Well, this is very close, but the fact that the Colossi are still up is what giving Lilbow time. A 4th Colossus just getting produced now will cause Tefel to retreat. Pulling back is Tefel's only option here. These Colossi just have so much splash damage, but additional Zerglings streaming across the map. No Roaches at the moment. 7 are on the field. There aren't any more in production. Tefel just pausing quickly. May have a small issue there, so we'll wait for the get that sorted out. But Penguin, this is not that one-sided. Tefel went for another very powerful push, but it isn't working out for him.
Not at all. And I just take a little moment to check the income tab here. He's doing the same thing that he likes to do very, very often, where he just sticks at that 3-base saturation of 62 workers, which means that he doesn't have an economic lead at all. And Lilbow, he's in a great position. Having said that, he's kept most of his expensive units alive. He lost the Void Rays, but the Colossi are the big damage dealers here. And Tefel doesn't have the income to try to work his way towards another tech path. He doesn't have a 4th base even. He's trying to establish one of the top just now, but that's not going to be done for another 100 seconds. And Lilbow, he's very close in supply. His upgrades are sitting at +1, so he is behind in the upgrades, but Tefel is in a very tough spot here. His army composition is just not what he needs to deal with the army composition that Lilbow is continuing to produce.
Yeah, this is not the greatest situation for Tefel, because his economy just really isn't there. Sorry for the options coming up on screen quickly, just hoping to fix that game sound problem that some people are having. Production is working on that, just so you are aware that we are listening to you. But yeah, Tefel, he's trying to take a 4th, but this is a very, very late 4th base. His infestation pit only just now coming down. Do you reckon he can transition out of this, Penguin?
Well, he definitely can if Lilbow gives him time, but the problem is, the The only way that Tefel's army composition can deal even remotely well with the army composition that Lilbow is currently moving across the map with is with Vipers. And with the Hive only just now starting, Tefel doesn't have anywhere near enough time to get that up. Lilbow only 20 supply behind, which is a great position for the Protoss to be in, and with such a strong army composition, I don't know if Tefel's going to have what it takes to hold this, but a counterattack from Tefel is going to go for a little bit of a base race here, and I think this is the right decision. He cannot engage this army of Lilbow's.
Unfortunately, the Mothership Core is with that force, so Lilbow probably will lose his third, but he's going to be able to take out Tefel's third base too. He can then recall back to his natural. Base racing a Protoss player with a Mothership Core there is always a very dangerous move, and we may be about to see why.
Yeah, down goes the third, and I assume if you're right, we may see the recall coming out here, but actually, Lilbow looking like he wants to commit, blinking the stalker score, trying to pick up the roaches that are moving on forward, but a bunch of drones have already evacuated out, and it looks like a bunch of probes have as well, so both players understanding that they may well lose their bases here. Diva Chamber with +2 is going to go down here for Tefel. Lilbow continuing to push on in. Tefel with a big supply advantage. He cannot build any more units. 5 Overlords about to pop, but I don't know if that's going to help as the Overlords are now under siege.
Yeah, it's only a tiny way to actually go in there to give Tefel a chance to actually produce anything. Does have 3 Vipers on the way. That's an interesting choice, getting those Vipers down, but he's about to lose all of his tech. Meanwhile, Tefel, he's pushing in nicely to Lilbow's natural, taking out the third and natural base, but the main being defended by 4 sentries. Doing an incredible job there. The probes, though, need to back away, and Tefel likely to make his defense at the 4.
Yeah, he's going to have 4 sentries open. Beautiful play there by Lilbow. Very, very smart. Because 4 sentries is all you need to perpetually put down force fields on the ramp. And that means his main is safe. Sure, he doesn't really have that much mining going on there, but he's defending the structure. For those of you who are relatively new to StarCraft, the way you actually win a game without your opponent leaving is by destroying all of their structures, which is exactly what Lilbow is trying for right now. Tefel has a base on the left side. That's going to go down. No cancel. That's 300 more minerals down the drain. Tefel running out of money slowly but surely. He does have mining going on at that 4th base, but only 12 workers, so he doesn't exactly have the most massive of banks. And it looks like he actually wants to try to engage this. I don't like this. He doesn't have enough objectives on the Colossi.
Well, straight away, 1 Colossus gets sniped down there. Good little move in there by Tefel. 3 Vipers in position, but with very few buildings to consume their energy, not that high. Gonna try and get a few blinding clouds down. That's a nice position to shove them in, because Tefel can therefore attack into that choke. Otherwise, attacking into a choke without those blinding clouds would be disastrous. Abduction on the Mothership Core snipes that down, and that's critical, Penguin, because not only are there now no time warps, should Tefel manage to make it up into the main base of Lilbow, Lilbow can't mass recall with his army to defend it.
The other big thing, though, is that that is the last of the energy on those Vipers. He's going to be consuming here on that extractor, which means that 1 more building is almost going to go down. Good castle on the consume there on the Vipers, but there's not enough for another blinding cloud by the looks of it. Only enough for abducts here. There's enough for 2 abducts, almost 3 once the energy gets up a little higher on that 3rd Viper. Tefel is controlling his army really carefully, and that's exactly what he needs to do. If he can get the snipes off on the Colossi that he needs, he does still have a chance in this game. Ooh, Lilbow's actually adding a Twilight Council. I think he's going to go for a Dark Shrine.
And is there actually any detection down for Tefel? No, he does not have an Overseer or a Spore Crawler, nor a Lair in order to make one. This would be cool, but it's not going to be a Dark Shrine. It's going to be
it's Templar Archive.
Templar Archive.
Oh, the Stalker's trying to pick up one of the Vipers. Not quite there. One of them gets pretty low on health. Another engagement coming down here. This is not the greatest of chokes, but at the same time, the abducts don't land properly. One goes down on a Void Ray. That's not really that helpful here. There's the abduct on the Colossi, but the force fields are keeping them alive. They get back and survive with almost no hit points. Tefel plummeting in supply. Down to under 60 now. Lilbow still sitting on a very, very expensive army composition, and Tefel loses almost everything as he retreats with the rest of his Hydras.
Tefel has a decent amount of minerals in the bank, but barely any gas. He's making 6 Zerglings now, has next to no lava in order to produce anything, and therefore has no choice but to GG out. And Lilbow takes a way going down on Frost. And Penguin, would you like to do the introductions?
Sure thing, Maddles. In the bottom left corner of Frost, he's 1 game away from securing himself a minimum of an additional $1,400 this season and a whole handful of WCS points, as well as the chance to go up against the best that Europe has to offer in the Premier League. Can he close out the series 3-0? It is XMG's Lilbow. And in the top left spawn location, somebody who not many people would have predicted to be down 0-2 against the newcomer, the underdog. We have a well-established professional in Europe's scene playing for Dignitas. He is the red Zerg. Can he bring it back and show people why he was indeed the favorite to win this series? It is Dignitas Tefel.
So, both Tefel and Lilbow battling it out for that Premier League spot. Lilbow, though, doing a much more successful job of it. Tefel has been playing very characteristically, getting out, big pushes, staying low on the drone count, and Lilbow managing to just hold it off and then turn it on its head. Game number 2, arguably a lot closer than game number 1, but Lilbow 1 away from going up into Premier. If he 3-0s this, I mentioned this as we exited out of the previous game, but there was only about 3.6% chance he would 3-0 against Tefel. Tefel had an 80% chance of taking this series, and now that is looking like a mighty tall order.
And I guess that just goes to show that statistics are indeed not everything, although they are pretty cool.
Statistics are pretty cool. I mean, it gives us something to talk about. So
it really does, doesn't it? Shout out to Illegal Luck. Love those guys.
Not what you were saying earlier. Anyone who saw Penguin's Twitter will know that they stopped ranking him. But now they do again, so it's all good. Anyway, for the moment we do have Lilbow just coming in to go and take his natural Nexus. This is following on from a pretty standard timing gateway expand coming down. Meanwhile, Tefel taking his gas. This is after his spawning pool first, so playing it identical to game numbers 1 and 2. And what are your thoughts on that? If you were Tefel's coach right now, after game 1 and 2, would you be advising him to play the same?
No. Or, actually, yes, because he plays the same so much. Like, it's pretty much, with very few exceptions, all he does. So, I think it's best to play the same because you don't want to practice something. You don't want to play something that you didn't practice. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You don't want to go in and wing it in the game where your life is on the line for WCS this season. So, he needs to try to analyze the last games and see what went wrong where and what he can do better with that strategy. And it looks like he does plan on going for the same sort of build. We see the speed coming up pretty early. We see him pulling off gas. We're probably going to be seeing him make the same kind of 18 or so lings that he did last time around. Meanwhile, we have a Forge coming on down here for Lilbow. So he's going to be going for earlier upgrades than he did in the last game. And adding on 2 more gateways, so he is going to be going 3 gateways and a Forge. Changing it up. I like it.
And this is really Lilbow showing that he's got a variety of builds able to throw out. Game number 1, he went for that 3 Stargate play, many Voidways. Game number 2, Colossi, with a couple of Voidways sprinkled in, a very normal composition. Game number 3, getting down, early upgrade. So, as you said, having, I believe it was yesterday actually, you said it, Penguin, having a wide variety of builds that you can throw out against an opponent keeps them on their toes. It keeps them guessing. They can't prepare or adapt mid-series to you. And that is what I actually feel has given Lilbow the ability to prepare so well for Tefel, is his predictability.
Very, very true. But Tefel is getting out the lings that we predicted that he was going to be going for, which means if he finds this pylon, Lilbow won't be able to actually do all too much with it. Looks like Lilbow's plan, as he chronos out the +1, is that he does want to be going for a lot of +1 Zealots here. And it's kind of like we saw in Wings of Liberty, a lot of people for a while were going for +1 4-gate aggression off of a Forge Fast Expand. I guess it's the same kind of idea, except off a Gateway Expand, so with 1 less Gateway. And actually, a bunch of the lings will catch the Zealots, so yeah, a nice catch for Tefel. He will take them out with the reinforcing lings coming in, so good catch for him, and that will significantly weaken the upcoming push. 2 more Zealots being warped in at the pylon, but no +1 just yet.
And +1, when it does kick in, obviously really helps the Zealots up against the lings. They start doing considerable more damage. They 2-shot lings rather than 3-shot them. And that means that Tefel's just Zergling heavy composition early on won't be as effective. Could potentially be a little adaptation that Lilbow's thrown out here just to get more success, but moving out now, Tefel does not have a Rotoran. This is going to be exceptionally difficult for him to try and hold.
It really is, and we do have the initial Zealots coming on in here, and +1 Zealots against lings is bad enough, but with a Time Warp on top of them, it makes it even harder to fight efficiently, and looks like the Mothership Core actually will be forced to drop a Time Warp down on the Queen, and now the Zealots are engaging against the lings in a Time Warp. That's not going to end well for Tefel's lings there, as a lot of them get shredded, but the Zealots do lose a lot of health. Looks like the Mothership Core is going to go down, and that's a nice little pick-off, being forced to drop the second Time Warp not too efficiently. Looks like that one Queen, 6 save on the Queen there with the drone surround on those Zealots. And Tefel is going to hold this with some pretty nice drone control there. Well done by Tefel.
Yeah, Tefel doing good, but Wave 2 is already on its way forward. Lilbow looking very strong here. behind this, starting Voidway production once again. Nearly gets that queen. Unfortunately, though, for Lilbow, a whole host of Zerglings come in, and Tefel defending this well, considering on paper he should be having a really tough time doing it.
Yeah, catching those first 3 Zealots was huge, because fighting against 5 Zealots with +1 is just so much easier than fighting against 8 Zealots with +1. They get exponentially harder to deal with the more there are. And now he's actually supply blocked Lilbow by picking off that proxy pylon, and that's going to be a bit of a problem here for our French players, as he's going to be dealing with a bunch of Lings coming in towards this 3rd Nexus, and he just doesn't have the units to really hold this off. That's going to be a forced cancel.
Yeah, I almost guarantee this gets cancelled now. There's a Voidway out on the field, 2 Zealots and 2 Sentries, not enough to hold this. There we go, Tefel able to get that prize that in game 1 and 2 he was unsuccessful in forcing the cancel on. So with this, Tefel has got himself in a much better position this game compared to the first 2. And that can be only good news for the Dignitas though.
And it looks like he may actually change it up a bit. Still no Roach Warren, which means that as he goes in here with a bunch of Lings, he will pick off a couple more Zealots, which I don't like too much, because he is going to need these Lings, because he's going for a Ling Hydra play rather than a Roach Hydra play, and that's going to match up really well against this additional 2 Stargate play that Lilbow is going for. 3 Stargates, that's not what you need against a Hydralisk push. It's 16 Hydras on the way. This is going to hit before those 3 Stargates can really come into effect.
And this is what we saw game number 1. Tefel try and do. It's the same build from Lilbow, essentially, just a different early game pressure. Getting these Voidways out can work against the Hydralisks once you have kind of double-digit numbers of them. But Tefel, in that first game, also put on a lot more Roach Ling pressure, which Lilbow was able to stop easily. With the Hydraling, though, and the lack of splash from the Protoss, suddenly this is an exceptionally powerful force. Lilbow could be in some trouble.
Lilbow even losing a couple of probes here for free. That's pretty nice. And in come the Hydras, not quite enough of them yet. He's going to have to pull back his Tefel. He needs to wait until more Hydras come in. There we go, 4 more coming in from behind. This is a lot of Hydras now. This is the 16 Hydras we were talking about. Lilbow coming, he is going to come down to his 3rd again. He's going to need to defend that. The Hydra is dealing a lot of DPS. The Ling's there for the meat shield. They will protect against Zealots as long as they do stand. Hydra's focusing down the Void Rays. 1 is down. The second one is going to be down. Oracle coming in. It does a lot of damage, but it's all like the Hydra's sort of a glass cannon. Goes down almost immediately. The Overcharge is not going to be able to hold this. Tefel taking a very, very big supply lead.
And Tefel just continuing to power units time and time again, because it's working for him this game. Game 1 and 2, it didn't work. Lilbow was able to stay on top of it. But with the 3rd now getting taken out, Lilbow really trying to hold on. He's got +1 air weapons being researched. He's got 3 Voidways in production at a time. But Tefel is at double the supply count. The army supply is nearly triple. It's absolutely huge for Tefel.
Yeah, we're going to need to see the most amazing Void Ray Micro we've ever seen to hold this. He's going to be up to 6, which is a nice number, but it's not a great number when you have a gigantic host of Hydralisks barreling down your front door. Lings are in the natural, going after the probes, and Tefel's looking poised to take this 3rd game.
Lilbow supply blocked heavily now, only just beginning some more pylons. Not looking too good for the XMG player this game, and Tefel appears to be on the start of making a comeback. Probes getting pulled against Hydras. GG called, and Tefel will start his comeback, taking the... So Penguin, would you like to do the honors and introduce these 2?
Sure thing, Maddles. In the top right spawn location, newly joining XMG, showing a very, very good performance so far. Can he close it out? This is his map pick. It's Habitation Station. What does he have planned? It's XMG Lilbow, the blue Protoss. His opponent, spawning in the top left spawn location of Habitation Station, we have, taking the last game very convincingly, our Red Zerg player trying to tie it up, Dignitas Tefel.
So with everything going on here in this series so far, Lilbow looked very strong. It appeared that he was on a course to take this series 3-0. Tefel, though, stepped up his play game number 3, defended a +1 Zealot move out from Lilbow very effectively, took minimal damage there, and just followed up with a great Ling Hydra play up against Lilbow's 3 Stargate Voidway build. That now takes the score 2-1. Lilbow only 1 game away from winning. Tefel has to win this one and the next if he wants to go back up into Premier. And Penguin, do you think he can take it to that ace game?
Well, if he plays the way he did in the last game, absolutely. He looked on another level last game than how he looked in the first 2. And if he can continue to keep himself motivated and continue to give his best, and on this map actually, I could see his style with the mass aggression being very, very good if he takes his third at the gold. Could well force it to the ace game. And from there, the momentum would be in his favor as he would have just won 2. So, Tefel, if he can take this map, I would actually think he's in a pretty good spot. But Lilbow, gotta think, he picked this map for some reason. I'm wondering if he does have anything in particular planned.
Well, he does seem to favour a lot of Stargate plays, especially early Oracle. And on Habitation Station, there's the quick rush distance by air across the middle here. So he could try to utilise that. If you put a Stargate right to the very left edge of Lilbow's main base here, actually, that rush distance is insanely fast. So he may try to incorporate that. There's also the gold base in the centre. This is something that some players do have some nifty little strategies that they try to incorporate it into. And while it is tough to hold, if you are able to hold it, even for just a couple of minutes, that can massively boost your economy to a point that you'd never have even with a conventional third base up for much longer. So with this, Lilbow is starting off at least with a little early pressure. One Stalker, one Mothership Core, and a second Stalker on its way. Going back to the build he did game number 1, which wasn't too successful.
I like this build a lot on this map. Tefel's very predictable, but had he decided to go for something else, a lot of Zergs will like to maybe take the hatch first at the gold or go 3 hatch before pool at the gold, and I feel like this pressure build, which has already picked off 1 drone, is going to be pretty good against those kinds of greedy builds, so maybe he was expecting something like that, but with 2 drone kills already, if he can get out of here with the Mothership Core alive, which he should be able to with the Time Warp, actually he doesn't even need to. He gets out with it, second Stalker coming on in. Lilbow controlling this very, very well so far.
Yeah, Lilbow not losing anything, and that was the main problem with game number 1, is he went for this pressure and lost the Mothership Core. If he's going for this pressure, doesn't kill anything but doesn't lose anything, he's taking up some time, but he should get the queen here. Nice pick off. Still 2 queens that are available though for Tefel, so he's got the injects. If Lilbow was able to get a second queen though, that would obviously start hurting production.
And you know, he's just gonna pull back, and I like this little poke from him. 2 worker kills, a queen kill, a couple of lane kills, 281 resources lost for Tefel compared to 0 for Lilbow. So, perfect game for him so far as official numbers go. And behind this, we have him adding on the Stargate that you mentioned that he loves oh so much. 2 more gateways. Could be seeing some Oracle pressure and those 3 gateways to back it up once again.
Well, every other game he's done this, it has been an Oracle out. And then he's got 2 follow-ups from this. Even in game number 2, where he went for those Colossi, he's still got this Stargate for some Void Ray production. Otherwise, he may add on 2 more Stargates up in the main base just to get mass Void Rays out pretty quick.
Yeah, and well, he has shown us both of those in the past couple of games, so we'll see just what he's able to throw out this time around. Tefel looks like he wants to take his third base not at the gold, but instead at that safer blue mineral base down to the south. So he's just comfortable to just play the same kind of build order that he has practiced hundreds and hundreds, thousands and thousands of times. And now here comes the little poke out from Lilbow. He's got a couple of Zealots, a couple of Stalkers, 3 Sentries, and an Oracle being chronoed out behind this. So can this do the damage that he wants to? The Roach Warren's nowhere near done, so Tefel is relying on only Speedlings for now.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is near identical, the same push that Lilbow's done every single game, and it's quite nice. It definitely puts a lot of pressure on Tefel. And Tefel, for the moment at least, only has Lings to defend with. 10 more on the way, there's no Roach Warren again, he skipped it. These Force Fields are quite good at the moment, Penguin, and the Lings unable to get the surface area that they need. However, as more come in, as the Queen's down, the Spine Caller nearly completes, mass recall comes out from Lilbow, back to safety.
Very, very good timing on that mass recall. Almost lost that 1 Sentry who's just sitting there on 1 hit point. Another one pretty low, Stalker also pretty low. So overall, Lilbow didn't get any damage done there. He didn't lose too much either though, and that's not too terrible for him. He forced out a couple of units. He would have wanted to do some damage there though. He is behind in economy. He's only sitting on 39 workers at the moment. He's actually adding on 4 gateways. Looks like he's going to be going for an all-in off 2 bases. He has cut worker production completely. Oracle coming into the main too.
And now this Oracle in the main base, just racking up a few kills here. 4th drone kill goes down, should be able to get a couple more, is suiciding it, taking the damage from the Queen, and gets 7, may get the 8th drone. Nicely done there. That knocks actually Tefel's drone count really low. 48 at 9 minutes 30 in this game is incredibly low. But the other interesting thing as well, have you noticed that Tefel has just started drone production pretty much exclusively? Since every other game, Lilbow goes for that push, and then macros.
Exactly. And that's the big
Yep.
that's the big point here, because Lilbow wanted to force him to make more drones, and he's made a ton more drones, at least 6 or 7. The Hydra production is so much delayed. Tefel is now checking for third bases. He's going to not be very happy when he realizes there's no thirds, and with the Overlord over the other third, he knows that there are none. And now, Lilbow almost up in supply here, moving forward with 7 gateways of production behind this. And, well,
the proxy pylon.
Oh, he will lose the pylon. That's a big loss there.
The force fields actually stop Lilbow from moving his army back in order to save it, so Tefel gets a good win there. If he holds this army off, there won't be reinforcements getting there too fast, but time warps are good for the moment. The Queen nearly going down, able to back away for the time being. Lilbow's army not that substantial though, but still about 20 supply above that of Tefel's.
And more Zealots streaming across the map. It'll take a while for them to get there, but there's just not that many units here for Tefel at the moment. He's already pulled the drones. A couple of Queens have gone down. Good time warp going down. Guardian Shield also helping to hold up the damage. The Hydra's trying to push on through, but there's just too much raw damage output at the moment. More Zealots coming on in here. Looks like one of the Void Rays may fall, the other one getting pretty low, and that is actually a huge win for Tefel as he does pick off both of those Void Rays. Behind this, though, Tefel has lost a whole host of workers, 22 down, and more of these units are continuing to stream across the map. Tefel, though, looks in a solid position to hold this off.
He's going to hold it off, but it's what really happens from Lilbow next. If Lilbow is able to prevent any counter-aggression from basically ending his game, then actually, if a third comes down, Lilbow economically is still easily in this. He's only 11 workers behind that of Tefel, which is pretty normal at any stage of the game for ZVP.
Lilbow is completely all in, though. He's not making probes, he's not making a Nexus. He just put another forward pylon down. This is his only hope this game. He wants to make this work. And if he controls better than Tefel, it is possible, but he doesn't have any force fields around. 8 more Hydras about to pop. That's a lot of damage output for Tefel. He's going to be up to 18 Hydras. And while they won't really have that much of a meat shield, it's hard to close the distance without charge or blink.
There's also no splash as well, and that's going to be damaging when the Hydra count starts to climb even higher. 9 more are about to pop out. And Hydras are glass cannons. They deal incredible amounts of damage, but can't take too much. That's why splash damage is so effective against them. And gateway units just don't have that. There's no High Templar there, no Storms, no Colossi. But Lilbow, with a good time warp, may be able to close up the distance with those Zealots, but a bit premature, and Tefel able to back away.
Tefel is now fighting on a ramp. That is pretty nice for the Hydras against the Zealots, but they don't take much damage, as pointed out. They're trying to go down behind this Hydra den, and they are kiting this army as well as they possibly can, but the drones have been forced off the line once again. Queen is going to fall. A bunch of drones have already fallen. Looks like the Zealots are gone, but the Stalkers are still alive, and they will be able to pick up a couple more of these drones. Looks like only 6 drones have gone down this time so far, though, and as a result, Tefel, with a resounding supply lead, will push this away and probably be able to take this game, as there's still no third base coming down for his opponent.
A counter-attack from Tefel now is the ideal option. That's why we see so many Zerglings and so many more Hydras being produced. He's identified not a single Colossus or High Templar on the field, no splash damage, and no third base. That Overlord able to reveal that. With only a small gateway force, a large number of Zerglings and Hydras are just going to be able to push through here slowly and steadily. Force fields may buy Lilbow some time, but just not that long.
Yeah, he's down a huge amount of supply right now. The Hydras are going to begin shelling away at these Stalkers, a couple of them going down to the front. Ling's trying to push through this little hole in the wall. The hole will be made larger by the Hydras, just focusing down the pylons. That's even going to unpower one of the gateways here. There's no Mothership Core. There's no overcharge. There's nothing that's going to help him hold this. Some really good force fields going down by Lilbow, but I just don't think it's going to be enough, Mattles. There's too much here for Tefel.
The Hydra range allows them to start hitting up onto the high ground anyway, so a couple of Stalkers were taken out regardless of those force fields trying to stop them getting into the natural. Lilbow's supply plummeting. It's under half that now of Tefel, and this is looking very good for the Zerg player to level out this series to 2-2, taking us to the ace game to decide which one of these two players will be making their way up into Premier. There's the GG, and Tefel is now 1 game away. Now Penguin, Yonsu, quite a small map, can be very aggressive on it. Do you reckon this will be a quick game?
I'm interested to see what Lilbow does, because Tefel, I think, is safe to say he will go for either Ling Hydra or Roach Hydra. Probably Roach Hydra. Ling Hydra has been a reaction both of the last 2 games, although it has worked both times, so it is possible that he will do that again. I'm interested to see what he does, though, because this map, as you said, rush distance is very short. The Ling Hydra / Roach Hydra can close the distance very, very quickly, get to your opponent's base, and pack a very, very quick punch. But at the same time, there's a lot of chokes. The Colossi can do a lot of damage. The Zealots can hold the top of the ramp pretty well. Void Rays as well can deal with the Hydras as they try to move up almost in single file. And it can be really tough to get a good engagement here. So things speak for both styles on this map. And I think that's kind of why we're seeing it come out last. This means that it wasn't the map pick of either players, but it wasn't the veto either. So neither of these players hated it enough to veto it, and neither of them really thought it would be good enough for their style against the others that they should pick it. And yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting dynamic that we're going to be seeing on this map.
Well, we have gone quite a long way through with that great analysis of the map, Penguin, without introducing these two. So let's get that done. Spawning down in the bottom left-hand position, we have got the blue Protoss player representing XMG. He won game 1 and 2, looking strong for moving up into Premier until things started going wrong. It's Lilbow. And his opponent, 2 out of 3 games through, a spectacular comeback in order to restore his place that he probably feels is rightfully his. Representing Team Dignitas, it's Tefel.
And as you said, a lot of people, Tefel probably included, feel that this guy should be among the top 32 in Europe, and he is definitely a staple of the European scene. He's been around for a long time, and I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people would have expected him to be the favorite going into this. But Lilbow has had a fantastic series. Win or lose, he can be proud of that at the very least, and he's done his new team proud in that respect at least. But he definitely doesn't want to be thinking, well, 2 wins is enough for me, I did well. He wants this. He wants to win this, and he can. He's shown that he can take games off Tefel. 1 more is all he needs to be the, I would say, the biggest upset of the season so far for Europe.
And to be honest, if Lilbow does it, and even if he doesn't, he's taken 2 games off Tefel, who is a very strong, consistent performer, as you mentioned. Just being announced as a new member of XMG today, that's the way you want to make an introduction to your new team.
Absolutely, it's a little bit of pressure is always behind your first performance for a team. So, being able to play well, always a great start. And that's I saw as well. A lot of people were surprised that Lilbow joined XMG instead of somebody like Mana. So he wants to prove that there's a reason it was him.
Well, that's what Lilbow's attempting to do. For the moment, nothing too crazy going on. A little bit of lag issues from one of the admins, it would appear there, unfortunately. The poor ESL admins.
Oh well, it's not Messioso this time.
So we can't blame Graham. I don't actually know MMY's real name, so
we can just still blame Graham.
Yeah, it's Graham's fault. It's Graham's apprentice, so it is still Graham's fault.
All right, so interesting little switch up here from Lilbow.
Yeah.
Who does have a Twilight Council on the way at the back of his base.
Blink or DTs?
Is this going to be for DTs?
Or is it going to be for Blink?
It could be for Blink, but I think it's going to be for DTs. That makes the most sense since Tefel's not Terran on Yonsu. If this was a PvT, I would assume Blink 100%. But Tefel hasn't been going for incredibly fast, super early lair or anything. He's been getting the guys in gas, getting 100, and then pulling them out. And only now is he going back into gas. So the Dark Shrine coming on down, Lilbow probably has realized that Tefel's not getting the earliest lair in the world and thinking that maybe he can hit a bit of a timing beforehand. With the 3rd gateway coming on down as well, I'm interested to see if he makes this Zealot pressure with DTs, or if he just decides to warp in DTs and go into some tech or a 3rd base behind it.
If he can get these DTs in and deal some good damage with them, it really will be frustrating for Tefel, because it's going to have been a very good observation by Lilbow in Tefel's play, if he's identified correctly, that this lair is quite late. But this game, Tefel actually getting it down, I believe, quite a lot earlier than normal.
Well, I'm kind of interested to see just what Lilbow does with the Dark Shrine now. He obviously doesn't know about the lair. The question is going to be, how much does he want to commit? Meanwhile, we actually have these links at the front of the base here, trying to do some damage. They will get a Zealot, and actually forcing an overcharge as well. They're trying to go for the pylon, but they won't be able to get it. Another one is started behind just to be safe. But now Lilbow has to make the choice. How much does he want to commit to this? There's no pylon out of the map, which means that it's going to be a very, very late attack with the Dark Templar, as they're going to have to waltz their way across the map. And it's going to be 2. 2 is not a huge commitment. It's not 3, which is the maximum that he could make at one time at this point. Actually, it is going to be 3, so he really wants to commit to this. He wants to do some damage, and he has to do some damage now, because this is a heavy, heavy gas investment.
The big decision is going to be whether he sends all 3 to one base, or 2 to one base and 1 to the other, or if he splits them evenly. In this position, without any overseers down, I would quite like to see 1 to each base. That is going to tax Tefel the most, and it appears that
hasn't noticed.
It is going to be his start. R2's going to go to natural, 1's heading up to the main. Already damage being done. This is so irritating for Tefel. Overseers instantly morphing, but only one of them. The third base taking some damage too. This is very problematic for the Zerg player without any detection yet on the map.
And as you said, only one Overseer is coming on up, which is a huge problem because it's going to take a long time to track down all 3 of these DTs. A little bit of sloppy play out of Lilbow, actually, walking a little bit too close to that Overseer with the second one. But this DT at the third base will get away. 3 kills on it. Total of 10 worker kills, which is not that bad at all for Tefel.
It actually puts Lilbow ahead by 11.
Yeah.
That is huge, because Tefel...
That is actually really big.
...is going to go and try and counterattack, but this wall-off complete. There's not too much in the way of units. There are only 1 Zealot and 1 Stalker. But the Mothership Core is in position. Potent Overcharge and a wall-off will help. Warp Gate's done, so we could get some sentries coming through. And if Tefel's too aggressive, well, the third still has no detection there, and the DT going to be heading back forward.
There is an Overlord there. Looks like Tefel may have seen the Shimmer. He is trying to chase it down there with the Lynx. Oh, changes his mind. Alright, he definitely sees it now. He is moving towards the base. The Queen is going to die, and a couple of drones are going to die as well. 2 down already, and a third one should go down. And the DT is going to die now, but he did some more damage, and I would say he was definitely a good investment. Tefel up in supply, but only by 6, which is not very comfortable for the Zerg player, especially now as he's got this Ling Hydra composition that worked so well for him in the last 2 games, but he's going to be going up against Colossi this time. Yeah. The Lings could have caught that army out, and looks like Tefel just doesn't want to commit.
Colossi getting out is really the counter, or one of the 2 counters to Ling Hydra. Any kind of splash, so Colossi or Storm will really shut it down hard. For the moment, there is only 1 Colossus just popping onto the field. Extended Thermal Lance isn't yet down, and the third being taken by Lilbow. But if he takes down these rocks, it buys him a bit more time. And once the second and subsequent third Colossus hit the field, that's really when Tefel's going to need something more tanky in this army.
And this is where... I was about to say that, yeah. Tefel is going to need to throw down the Infestation Pit now. And there it goes. Because he needs to go to Hive, he needs to go towards the Vipers. Because without Vipers, there's no answer to this. And Lilbow, adding on Blink, because he already has the Twilight Council, that's going to allow him to perhaps blink forward and try to pick off a couple of the Vipers. He isn't going Templar Archives, so there's not going to be any feedbacks. That's going to be his only real choice. We have another DT moving towards the third.
This can be annoying. The other thing annoying for Lilbow, he hasn't realized yet, I doubt, he's actually got 2 Twilight Councils.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he made another one. So he forgot the first one for the Dark Shrine. But this DT, again, getting in. 3 worker kills, forcing a lot of lost mining time. And this is going to go and hide at the edge of the base. Should get picked up. Tefel, I doubt, would allow it to survive at this stage. But still. Well, 4th DT, 4th, maybe the 5th drone goes down. That's definitely worthwhile for that Dark Templar.
And he also just bought a lot of time, as Tefel was going for an attack and brought his whole army back to deal with that. And now, Thermal Lance is done. 2 Colossi are done. 3rd Colossus well underway. And Blink is also nearing completion. We have a bunch of Lings coming around the back with the Hydras. I don't think this is going to work too well.
There are a decent number of Colossi down on the field now. 2 of them there. 3rd one about to pop out. Extended Thermal Lance finished. +1 done. Tefel only just now beginning +1 Carapace. Not even double upgrades for the time being. The Overseer does give vision of the high ground, so he could have used the Hydralisk to take out some probes, but good response from Lilbow, sees it coming, and just pulls them away.
And yeah, Tefel not going to try to commit in there, Lilbow not going to try to commit onto that Overseer or anything like that, so no units lost at all. Another DT was warped in at the natural, going to be moved on over to Tefel's side of the map. Whereabouts is he going? Probably check the 4th, I wouldn't be too surprised. He actually does see that now with the Observer, so he may send that DT over to try to get a couple of kills over there. Looks like it's going to be going towards the army, though, and that's not going to be where the DT wants to be.
Or is he going to slip?
Well,
wow. Okay,
he saw it, but he didn't notice it. And now he's moving across the map again. The DT is going to force at least some of these units to come home.
I'll tell you what, this is a particularly stealth DT sneaking past that army there. Going for the Queen, not the guaranteed drone damage, but the army gets pulled back, buying Lilbow more time to get out now his 4th Colossus. And still, the Corruptors aren't out on the field. There's no way to deal with those Colossi for Tefel as of yet. A couple of Zerglings also died. Lilbow looking solid.
We have a Hive but no Vipers, which is kind of interesting. Instead, we have those Corruptors that you were talking about and a Greater Spire coming in. So Tefel wants to be teching in towards the Broodlord tech switch, but he's sitting on even supplies with Lilbow, which is never a position you want to be in. He's actually going to be caught with a lot of his army. A Time Warp going down, picking off quite a bit. We have the Corruptors moving on and trying to do some damage, but with the Guardian Shields and the Blink Stalkers coming in, Lilbow should be able to trade effectively here. Only one Colossus goes down, blinking forward, picking off a couple of the Corruptors already, and Tefel takes a resounding defeat there, losing a lot of his army and being forced all the way back on his side of the map.
The one plus side for Tefel is he kept up most of the Corruptors though, so he does still have a way to deal with these Colossi once he gets a few reinforcements. So he's also going up to a Greater Spire, going to be looking for some Broodlords if he can hold this off. The Stalker's unable to get onto the Corruptors at the moment. A second Colossus falls, the third also going to get taken down. If the fourth is able to be destroyed, that is great news for Tefel, but looks like Lilbow able to keep it up. The Zealots pushing up against the Hydralisks in the fourth base, precariously placed now for Tefel, will probably be taken down.
Lilbow with a very large supply lead of about 20 right now, taking out this fourth base, as you pointed out. A couple of Hydras wandering the wrong direction. They don't want to be there. Tefel losing a lot of supply. The drones all going down, and currently the army supplies for the players are 116 for Lilbow and 58 for Tefel, with a better army composition for Lilbow. Tefel looks like he may be about to fall out of WCS Europe. Lilbow looking strong to advance to Premier.
Lilbow, now 17 supply up, is in a monumentally good position. He's plowing forward. The Bling Stalkers getting ever closer. 6 more Corruptors are coming out, but that does not help with the mass ground army. GG, well played is called, and Lilbow advances over Tefel 3-2.